All right, guys. UFC 277 just went down. We are here to talk about it. This is the Sherdog, the Shillan and Duffy UFC 277 live recap show. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. I am the GOAT of MMA broadcasting, at least self-proclaimed GOAT of MMA broadcasting. I do not have my ace up the sleeve. Ben Duffy, he has some things he has to do with Sherdog. He's a big executive with Sherdog, so sometimes he has to do some boss duties. So a couple months ago, I said I was going to have listeners come on and join us. We had Dev Goes Fishing jump on. He's actually been on twice already, once with me and once with Ben. So I'm doing it again. This guy's making his debut. He's always in the chat talking it up. Ladies and gentlemen, joining our broadcast is Luke Wilson.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. I gotta shout out Dev right away because I've watched his show beforehand, and that guy he kills it on there. So I got a big shoes to fill with.
Yeah, man. Dev's like the Conor McGregor of replacements. You got to do like Patty. You got the Patty Pimblett shoes. Like you got some big shoes. You got compared to Conor. So
yeah, I know, right?
So like we got 13 fights to talk about. 2 title fights. Shout out to everyone in the chat. If this is your first time listening, we go from top to the bottom, starting from the main event all the way down to the prelims. Then we do some fun stuff at the end. The chat is already jumping. So shout out to all our usual listeners. I see a couple of new guys in there. So that's cool. If you've never been in the chat, I think it's the best thing going. I think it's the best thing we do all week is chat it up together. Everyone's real respectful. So let's get into it. Main event. New champion Julianna Pena defended her title against. It's not often we see Amanda Nunes walk in first. It's been the last time was UFC 100 was the last time she walked in first. Oh no, that's not true. That's not true. She had to walk in first when she fought Chris Cyborg. So I correct myself. But at 135, then the last time she walked in first was UFC 100. This was UFC 277. That's how long her reign has been. She took on Julianna Pena. We had a whole Ultimate Fighter show to build up this. 2 questions. One, did you watch the Ultimate Fighter show?
No,
I did. I did.
Okay.
I did simply because we're doing a preview this week, and that's why I watched it. 2, why the hell didn't they have the Ultimate Fighter finale like last week to kind of build up? It seems kind of weird to have the coaches fight and then kind of finish the show. Julianna Pena be up there for one of the fights. She has both of her team members fighting each other. So she'll be presenting the trophy. She's gonna be all beat up and stuff. It just, I thought they kind of, I don't know, really weird. But anyways, Julianna Pena took on Amanda Nunes. I'm shuffling. I'm delaying right now because somehow I can't find my notes. The last fight when Julianna Pena beat Amanda Nunes, some people called it the biggest upset in MMA history, biggest upset in female MMA history, just one of the biggest upsets in modern sports history. Amanda Nunes had a lot of excuses. She said, she has some knee, I think it was a knee injury or a foot injury, some kind of leg injury where she couldn't run. It was knee, yeah, and she couldn't train that well, and then she wasn't happy with her team, and she wasn't happy with her training, and didn't have full camp. Like she had all these excuses. And Julianna Pena kept saying all these, those excuses. Sometimes when a fighter loses, it's excuses. And then when you see a performance like she did tonight, you got to say, well, maybe the excuses were real. How are you feeling after this performance?
Yeah, I think she completely warranted what she said, in the sense that she said before, I think she said she was training 1 day on, 2 days off, and it showed in the cardio. And this time, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, she's still chaining wrestling together. It's definitely one of the best really, this is like the first time since maybe Chris Cyborg where I went into a fight for Amanda Nunes, like questioning and not thinking it's a foregone conclusion that Nunes is just going to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the switching of stances at the beginning, starting off at southpaw and starting off with the counter right hooks, and those were money throughout the fight, at least through the first few rounds. And I mean, I think it was like a span of like maybe like a minute and a half where she just kept landing the same counter right on Pena every time she lunged in for a jab, and knockdown. It was knockdown, knockdown. It was like a simulation almost.
Yeah. One thing that stood out to me, I just kept thinking when I was watching Amanda Nunes just beating the brakes off, as Technical Wealth said, beating the brakes off of Amanda Nunes. Seeing Amanda Nunes beating the brakes off of Julianna Pena. The thing I kept thinking about is this is what we expected the first fight to look like.
Yeah.
Like if this was the first fight, we'd have been like, yeah, Amanda Nunes, she's the best, she's the GOAT, she's a pound for pound champ. You know, is she the greatest fighter regardless of gender? Like, how is she the most dominant athlete in our sport? You know, we'd be saying all this stuff. And then we would have been giving Julianna Pena credit, like, wow, she almost got an armbar. Or wow,
like it was close for a second.
Yeah, she went 25 minutes and took a beat, and like who else? Other people have quit. We saw Raquel Pennington, you know, someone who's known for her toughness, asking for a way out. Like, wow, it was so impressive. This is you made a good point. This is the first time since in a really long time when Amanda Nunes came into a fight and we were questioning if she's going to win, and she still entered as a favorite. She was I don't know, maybe I think she closed negative 225 about it. That's more Ben's thing. The odds. I don't even look at the odds, but like about I know she was a favorite.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people picking Julianna Pena. A lot of people thought Amanda's declining. She's done. Her gas tank's done. She's not moving. Like all these questions. And she just does GOAT shit. Like there's times with GOAT people. There's times when people question. Are you other sports fans? You follow other sports?
Yeah.
You think of the GOATs in the sports. Tom Brady's been questioned, and then he wins MVP. You know, and then he wins the Super Bowl. And Venus Williams gets questioned, and Michael Phelps, and all these. To me, this adds to her legacy. And there's so many people. There was actually people I couldn't believe this. There was actually and people I respect who and shout out to a lot of people saying hi. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining the chat. A lot of people actually questioned if she was the GOAT. Like, oh my God, you lose Julianna Pena. Like, I actually saw, and people I respect, so I'm not kind of like, Adam. I thought all the pressure was on Julianna Pena. I really did. Because to me, I said this on the previous show, I thought Amanda Nunes' legacy's in check. Even if she loses, we're going to have that, wow, she's done. Every fight, every great, you know, Michael Jordan had time when he went to the Wizards, and we saw it in our sport. Fedor Emelianenko started fading. Jose Aldo started fading. I mean, there will be a time when Amanda Nunes will fade, and she will lose, and she'll lose 2 or 3 in a row.
I agree to a certain extent. I think if Nunes lost this one, there puts like a doubt in people's minds just a little bit, just because Pena did it twice. So we wouldn't have known this time, but if it was convincing again. It's like, wow, like, and then Pena had been around for a while, and to just kind of beat her the way she did last time, if it was like, say, it's like a mirror image, people, you know, then people starting to talk about Valentina Shevchenko, and you know, and so while I still personally would have had Nunes as the women's greatest of all time, I could definitely see other people. It would be up for debate. Where I think now it kind of silenced it with that type of performance. There's no debate in my eyes.
Yeah. Kyle just asked a great question. Kyle, I'm going to put a pin on that because I do want to talk about, we'll obviously talk about Julianna Pena in a second and what way she goes. I thought when, obviously we've seen her have huge moments, Amanda Nunes. If you were trying to rank the Amanda Nunes moment, she's really one of the people that would have such a hard time. Like John Jones would have a hard time. George St. Pierre would have a hard time. But there's other people you'll have, like people that are great fighters. You have that one fight that you'll always stand out above all the rest. But the higher you get up, the harder it is. That said, I don't know if I've seen Amanda Nunes this happy before.
Yeah.
Like, even more than the Chris Cyborg, where she's like, give me a beer. She's running. I mean, she did the 2, you know, she's done a beer with the both belts, but she's coming out. She's guzzling, doing Tai Tuivasa, drinking beers. And I think was because, I mean, how long ago was it? About 6 months ago or so? I think it was the end of last year.
Yeah.
She loses to Julianna, whatever, 6, 7, 8 months, whatever, 9 months, whatever it is. She loses. She had to hear these things for 6 months. She had to go on the tough show and have, and in fairness, Julianna didn't push her too much, but a little bit of, hey, I beat you. Hey, I've been saying this for 10 years that I was coming for her, that she was ducking me. I proved it.
Mm-hmm.
People question your gas tank, which is always like, some reason the gas tank gets under people's skin more than anything else. It seems like, because then it's like, it's a question of like a work ethic and this and that.
Yeah, and Pena kept saying like all the stuff that Nunes was talking about were just excuses,
Excuses,
and
yeah.
like that was like something she was hammering home each time, and I bet you that got maybe not got under her skin, but definitely pissed her off a bit.
So let me throw this out to the chat. And to me, it's tough. I hate calls a fight a fluke, but after you saw what happened tonight, and go back to the first round of that fight, because Amanda Nunes almost put up a 10-8 round the first round. She dropped it I think she dropped it twice in that round. She was beating up, controller on the ground. Look, I mean, you take out any round tonight and replace it with the first round, it still looks like the same fight.
Yeah, I think it was like I think it was like a perfect storm kind of thing where everything was kind of going wrong for Amanda and going up into the fight. All the laundry list of problems she had, and then Pena put out the best performance we'd seen her put out, in her entire career. And so I guess that's kind of a fluke, but yeah, like a perfect storm kind of situation, I think.
Yeah, me and Ben were both very confident in Amanda Nunes, but like I was like 95% confident. Like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a fluke. Now I'm feeling like, yeah, that first fight was fluke. That was lightning in the bottle. Good for Julianna Pena. She'll always get to call herself a UFC champion. Maybe one day she'll get to call herself UFC champion tonight, but she was completely outclassed. This felt a lot like the George St. Pierre Matt Serra 2, where St. Pierre beat up Serra so bad that, like, I don't know if we're going to get a trilogy fight.
Yeah, the upset was exactly when the Pena upset happened. It was exactly what I thought. The first thing I thought of was like Serra's upset over GSP. I thought they were very comparable.
So the thing that stood out, which was I was really surprised, and obviously it was a brilliant move. But when Amanda Nunes came out and she came out in the southpaw stance, three things immediately popped up. Before they even threw a punch, she came out in southpaw stance. I said, well, let's see if she changes right away. See, she just messing with her and she changed it. And then when she didn't, I go, three things popped up to me. I said, one, I wonder if she still has an injury. I wonder if something injured on the left side, her hand, her foot, she's trying to hide it back. Mm-hmm. A knee, maybe she doesn't want to wrestle there, so she's trying to push it back. The second thing I thought of, and it's actually what Daniel Cormier said, is she could throw those high kicks. She must be seeing high kicks. She could throw high kicks. And the third thing I said, she must have seen something. She must have seen something in film, and I'm trying to think of like who southpaw has Julianna Pena fought and beat Julianna Pena? Valentina Shevchenko. I said maybe she did tape study, went out, so all the way back to the Valentina Shevchenko and saw something. Now, I really want to look back at that fight to see if Valentina was landing, check hooks and all this, but her check right hook couldn't miss, and she was kind of parrying with it, where she was throwing over the top and just landing over, and then her feet were underneath her, so everything she threw was power shots. I was absolutely floored by, especially the early going of Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, and she was able to like maintain her power as she was backing up, which especially in women's MMA you don't see very often, to like be backing up and throw a shot like that and knock her down on multiple occasions. So I thought that was really impressive.
We don't see that in men's MMA either.
Not
if we're
much.
Being honest.
Yeah,
there's very few people that can draw that kind of power, where they're kind of she was beating her to the spot of the contact.
And she was very composed. I thought that was the main difference between the first and second fight, beyond everything else. The composure. She knocked her down, looked at her, let her get back up, let her do the exact same thing she had done before, knocked her down again, let her back up, and then Pena started to like make a few adjustments. She started throwing the jab and then coming with a 1-2. But the composure from Nunes, from Nunes, was very different. I thought she almost had in the first fight like a Cody Garbrandt syndrome, is what I like to call it, where she just got into like a firefight where there was no defense, and she started getting tired, and Pena started landing clean shots, and defense went out the window, and Nunes wasn't able to really just respond to anything at that point.
Yeah, and honestly, when she started landing those power shots, Nunes, she had success getting into the pocket and landing shots in the first fight. Like she didn't have that because she was getting tagged. And one thing I was really surprised, in especially the early going, is that she wasn't trying to, like, she might have tried 1 or 2 times to close the distance, but every time she stepped in, it was Nunes grabbing the unhook first, getting away immediately, never getting pressed against the cage, staying very, more in the center of the cage. Amanda Nunes, I mean, she looked absolutely fantastic. One thing that did surprise me, though, is how much she wrestled between I think it was like the 4th and 5th round. She turned into Bo Nickel out there, takedown.
I'm excited about Bo Nickel. Let me tell you.
Yeah, so am I. So I. You guys all know in the chat I'm an NCAA wrestling fan.
Same.
So to have one of the greatest of all time, I'm pretty excited about that. I was questioning 2 things. I said, well, I wonder if she's getting tired and she feels safer. Like, I'm going to get on top. I'm going to rest there. Julianna Pena, she's a good grappler, but she's more of a topside grappler. She's not, even though she almost had a couple submissions tonight, that's not really her game. Her game is more top, smothering you. Sarah McMahon getting on top of her, fights like that, all through the Ultimate Fighter show. That's the one thing I thought. Or the other thing I thought of, Amanda Nunes is the GOAT. She in the top athletes, they have this, like, they walk the line of cockiness in like supreme confidence, where they have so much confidence that it's almost cocky.
I think it's super important, to have that.
You hear the stories about Larry Bird and the way he would trash talk all the time, and I wonder if it was a little bit, hey, Julianna is supposed to be the great grappler. She submitted you last time. I wonder if she wanted to go in her wheelhouse.
I think Nunes has a tendency of doing that sometimes. Like, good example was like she head kicked Holly Holm.
Yeah,
like, the main thing that
like her move.
Before and then she went in the pocket with Chris Cyborg. Like, she's basically saying anything you could do, I could do better. I felt like, I also was kind of amazed by how easy it was for Amanda to take her down. Even when she didn't like get in there that cleanly. Like, I think in the 5th round there was like one takedown I saw. It was like a sloppy, like, kind of like step through throw that Pena. Yeah. I mean, now Pena might have been a little bit gassed at that point, or not a little bit, definitely gassed. But it was surprising to me to see how easy it was, because like I watched the Pena McMahon fight, and McMahon had success, but it wasn't that easy for McMahon.
No,
who was more decorated wrestler. It was
McMahon's
easy, but not as easy, I feel like.
Yeah, McMahon's not. In fairness, McMahon's not as big as Amanda Nunes. But yeah, she's definitely more. I mean, she was an Olympic silver medalist, so obviously she's an elite wrestler. I wonder if it has something to do with. I mean, she was rocked. I mean, she was rocked multiple times. I wonder if it had to do with her like willingness to, like, hey, I don't mind going to the ground because it's not working the stand up. Like, I'm not going to win a stand up battle tonight. Like, I wonder if something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was an interesting change from Nunes. Yeah.
I was surprised when Nunes almost got caught like 1 or 2 times that she continued after that. They're like, all right, now you gotta let it out. We're not gonna see that again. And it was about 6 or 7 more takedowns after that.
Yeah. I think Pena, like, only slightly was starting to gain, not an edge, but was starting to get back in there. Like in the 3rd round, there were some times where Pena was starting to land better. It wasn't, and like maybe Nunes was fading a little bit. And it's awesome when you're Amanda Nunes is that you're so much better than everyone else everywhere. It seems like that even when Pena looks like she could possibly get something going, she can just switch it on a dime and go to the wrestling and see where Pena's at there. But after when on the ground there, Pena, there was one armbar in particular that I think it was in the 4th round.
4th round, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was ready to get the cage. With Nunes actually
and you couldn't really see where the elbow was either.
Yeah, she actually like went to her back briefly and everything. She was putting her leg over the top. Yeah, I was a little nervous for her
because you could see like the forearm, and the forearm was looking kind of looking like it was under some pressure there.
It had a very like Antonio Nogueira feel where he's getting powerbombed by Bob Sapp and getting beat up or getting tagged up by Mirko Cro Cop and he pulls this sub out anywhere Anna Silva, Chael Sonnen kind of feel like I was like, oh my god, is she actually going to beat her again? Which would have been an even bigger story right now.
That'd be crazy.
But obviously that didn't happen. Let's talk about Julianna Pena. Obviously not her night. I mean, epic beating. I apologize. Who? Oh, it was Kyle. Kyle Law. He asked, when you get this kind of baiting, like, what do we expect seeing Julianna Pena moving forward after a beating like this?
I think it's hard to know. Like, I think different fighters react differently. I think Pena's confidence won't be an issue. Some fighters, I think, when they get knocked out, like a good example was Francis Ngannou after Francis Ngannou, Stipe, when he fought Derrick Lewis. That was like
he's almost fighting not to lose.
Yeah, so I think Pena is still. She seems super confident herself. I mean, you have to be confident to go in against Amanda Nunes the first time and tell everybody you're going to break her, and then kind of actually do it. Not kind of actually do it, and then come back and continue to believe in yourself. So I don't think there's going to be a confidence issue for her. But I think we'll just kind of a wait and see, I think, for me, on terms of how she'll react after.
And I think in the 25 minutes, I think she did have moments that I feel like if you have the coaches can kind of pluck the right spots that she did something right and kind of almost exaggerate how well she was doing, if you want, even though she got, I mean, one of the scorecards was 50-43. I had a 50-44, so I gave a 10-8 round in the second, and I gave but I was okay with a 50-43. I'm actually not okay with a 50-45. Like, I feel like that second round, if that's not a 10-8 round, then what is a 10-8 round?
Yeah, how many times do you have to knock someone down for it to be a 10-8 round?
She dropped it 3 times, which is the record in women's MMA, and she buckled her like 2 more times.
Yeah, I think they said it was 5 in total knockdowns, not just that round, but through the fight. So
we have a couple comments. High or low saying we expect the trilogy fight. I'm assuming he's saying next. RC Kim I think he's questioning that, saying, why would anybody want to see that again? So let's get into that. Like, you're in the UFC, you're in a tough position because Amanda Nunes had this huge run where she can demand a rematch. Julianna Pena didn't have that, but it's 1-1. So do you? And it's not like, is there anybody who really stands out? Like when Julianna Pena was fighting for the title, like I didn't know if I viewed her as the biggest threat to, if I had to, if going back a year ago, you asked me who's the biggest threat to Amanda Nunes' title right now in the division. Like I probably wasn't taking, Julianna Pena.
I don't think I was either, but then at the same time, I don't know who I would have been taking. And I think the same thing goes for the trilogy. Who else does she fight that's like competitive? The only name I have is maybe Ketlin Vieira, but that's it really for me.
Yeah, Kylo, he throws Pena versus Aspen Ladd. He's going with the Nunes Shevchenko.
You could do that.
Yeah, I could see them doing a Shevchenko one. The thing, I've been one of these ones, and I've seen it twice, and the second fight was terrible. Like, people forget how bad the second fight was. A lot of people thought Shevchenko won that fight, and obviously, who is the biggest threat to Amanda Nunes' title? Well, it's Valentina Shevchenko, of course. Yeah, but when I was asking that question, but I'm not. I was talking about actual fighters in the division. Sometimes it's just next person up, and to me, it's Ketlin Vieira. It sounds like Amanda Nunes is not. I think someone else said in the chat. It sounds like Amanda Nunes is not going to be in a rush to get back in there. They asked her what's next. She kind of like sidestepped it super quick. A lot of times they do that in the cage. They do in the octagon because they're such in the heat of the moment. Like, get in the back, cool off a little bit, have some Gatorade, hug your family. Then you go to the press conference. By the time she actually goes up, it's an hour afterwards. She might not give you somebody by then. She also probably will explain why she was wrestling so much. I'm sure someone will ask her about that. I've seen a lot. I was pleasantly surprised at how many people have thrown out Jermaine Durandamy. Like, people want Jermaine Durandamy back. Obviously, Kayla Harrison's name is C Proud threw it out there. A couple other people threw out Kayla Harrison's name. She's on the contract. Obviously,
do you know when that ends for her?
I don't know.
I wasn't sure if that was public knowledge at all.
I'm sure it is. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I'm sure somebody I'm sure Jay Petrie, Sherdog editor, he's probably working, but he usually watches these afterwards. I'm sure he could probably answer that question. He's on top of this. So what do you do with Julianna Pena? Because I feel like she still has that name because you made one, she's Ultimate Fighter winner. Two, man, she's a very pretty woman. She has the the Hispanic American thing going for her. She talked herself a good game. She has the mother thing going for her. Obviously, she has the widow of Amanda Nunes. She's very well spoken. She does a commentating thing with Combate and stuff. She's definitely a marketable fighter in the cage, in it and out of the cage. So I feel like she needs a name.
Yeah, I agree. We might say the same name here. I have Holly Holm as my pick.
We have the same name, my man.
Yeah.
I actually think Holly Holm might be a really bad stylistic matchup for her.
But
I feel like you could sell that as a fight night main event.
Yeah. I mean, with some of the main events we've had, yeah, definitely that's completely name values there. And divisional relevance is still there as well. So I like it.
Jordan Shepard asked a question that always gets brought up. Kayla Harris. Again, I don't know if it's even an option, but and it's definitely not after they get a least wait till the season ends. But they said, why would Kayla Harrison leave her job of beating someone in 30 seconds every week, not every week, but every event for insane money to fight Amanda for likely the same money? No, she wouldn't. I think he's saying likely the same money of what. I'm assuming he's saying likely the same money of like a Julianna Pena would get paid because she'd get paid less money. So besides having as tough, not as tough a challenge, it'd be less money. The only reason why she would do it, two reasons I think of is one is she really is a competitor. This was the one who won the Olympics. That's all she talks about is her legacy and want to be the best. That could be it. And then also, I think you bet on all the other stuff that comes with it. If she's undefeated and she beats Amanda Nunes, it's different than Julianna Pena being in there. Maybe she becomes that Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey's the bronze medalist in the Olympics. I'm a 2-time gold medalist. Oh, this girl knocked out Ronda Rousey in a minute. I just submitted her in a minute or whatever would happen. Maybe that's the route. Unlikely, but maybe.
I think the ball's in UFC's court on this one. Like they need to. I think it's based on the offer that they give them. They got to make it make sense for Kayla to come there. I feel like, right? Yeah. Yeah,
and RC Kim throws out Rocky Pendleton for a name for Julianna Pena. Okay, I think it'd be such a boring fight, but like I see they're just clinching each other for long periods of time. Hilo 1000 is trolling because he's saying Larissa Pacheco from PFL can beat Kayla Harrison. Kayla's beats her once a week. It seems like I think she's beat her in the finals twice now. One last question before we move on. So when Amanda Nunes, and this is for I know people like to talk about this, when Amanda Nunes lost to Julianna Pena, she kind of fell out of the pound for pound rankings. Number one spot. Valentina Shevchenko moved up.
Yeah.
I mean, do we give the pound for pound ranking right back to Amanda Nunes, even though she recently lost?
I think the body of work's there. I think if I'm in control of it, I put her there. I think
I do too. So well, behind the scenes things, they're already in the discussions in Sherdog in the rankings discussion. I usually jump in on Sunday. Usually the rankings discussion is Saturday night, and then to a certain time on Sunday, then we post the rankings. Yeah, I'm going to argue for Amanda Nunes for two reasons. One, she holds 2 wins over.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate one. And two, Valentina Shevchenko doesn't have a recent loss, but maybe she should have.
Close. It was at least close, yeah.
Maybe she should have. How crazy would that have been that we almost in a 1-year calendar had both of them losing. Anything else you want to talk about the main event before we move on? Because we still have 2 more fights to cover.
I don't think I have anything else pressing. Yeah.
All right. Probably the fight that was a lot of people probably most competitive of the 2 title fights that we expect to be competitive. Though we had a stoppage. We had Brandon Moreno, former undisputed champion, taking on Kai Car France for the interim title. Brandon Moreno won by 3rd round TKO. How did you have the fight scored up until the 3rd round?
I think I had Moreno taking the first 2,
Okay.
and then I was on my way to having Kai taking the third,
Okay.
um, before the stoppage.
Yeah, this is how I feel about those 2 rounds. I felt both rounds were so close. Both guys had so much respect for each other.
Yeah,
And it seemed like a very sparse session between two really good guys who don't want to show anything.
yeah,
And to me, that's how I felt. I had a 1-1. I think I gave, I don't remember now. I'm forgetting. I think I gave Cara France the first and I gave Moreno the second. But I remember sitting there going, this could be 2-0 Moreno. This could be 2-0 Cara France. It could be 1-1. I have no idea. Like, that was that close.
yeah,
And I was with you. I mean, Cara France was landing that hard ground pound. He cut open Brandon Moreno. And it's such a great contrast in styles. And what I mean by this is you have Brandon Moreno. Oh, let's start with Cara France. Cara France, he was doing everything right. And he was doing everything right. And he still might have been down 2-0.
yeah. I
Or he
think
was doing everything right and he coming up 2-0.
yeah. I thought the only thing he could have done more was just a little bit more volume. I thought
Yeah,
that
more
it was
volume.
pretty low. Yeah,
But what I liked about him is he stayed in himself. Jab, straight punches, low kick, attack a single just to keep him honest, attack a takedown. He didn't seem like the moment was getting to him. He seemed very relaxed. Moreno's opposite. Moreno is he's not as clean. He's more looping, punches coming on the outside, high kicks kind of looping around, but he needs the kind of pressure. He needs to stay in your face. He needs to kind of draw out attacks from you. And Moreno, even though it might have been 1-1 or it might have been 2-0 Moreno, whatever way, however you want to score the rounds, they were close. But the fight was being fought the way Cara France, in my opinion, wanted it to be fought. Like, his team's game plan was that kind of fight. And that wasn't Moreno's fight. And, like, to me, the worst thing that happened to Cara France is that he hurt Moreno, cut him open, and it's such a like cliche thing is, but they say like some guys they gotta get punched really hard to wake up. Mm-hmm. And then Moreno was like, "Oh fuck, it's on! I'm pressing the pace. I'm staying in your face. I'm throwing big shots. We're gonna start really exchanging." And that's when Moreno took over. And then obviously he landed a beautiful liver kick, which just shut down the lights shut down his whole faculties.
just folded him.
It was a really fun technical fight up to that point. But Brandon Moreno's king again.
Yeah, I almost wish the liver kick didn't happen, or I wish it happened like the 5th round.
Yeah,
we were really starting to get into it, and like I was so excited for the next few rounds that were coming through. Both guys were really starting to open up in the 3rd because it was like a fun like at range kickboxing fight for the first 2 rounds.
Yeah,
but I love the classic Brandon Moreno kind of just a dog fight out there and just pushing pace and yeah.
Yeah, so I want to correct myself because I said something last week, and obviously I was wrong. Last week I said Muhammad Mokaev is the guy who could be the star of the division that they really need. He's marketable. He talks. He's already talking shit about Paddy Pimblett. Like, he gets it. And then I go, oh, wait a minute. Brandon Moreno in the right atmosphere is a star. And we talked about it last week. We talked about, I don't know if you watched the recap. I think you were in the chat. Molly McCann and Paddy Pimblett. I think Paddy Pimblett has kind of turned a star everywhere, but really getting them close to home magnifies them. I feel the same with Brandon Moreno. When he came out, he had the loudest pop over Derrick Lewis, over anybody. The Mexican fans were going crazy. So if you can get him in Mexico, you can get him in Texas, or you can get him maybe Arizona, Southern California with his big Mexican, contingencies. That area, he brings atmosphere. He brings. I mean, you could feel it coming through my TV, how loud it was for Brandon Moreno.
Yeah, the Mexican fans like traditionally really travel well. I know this because I'm a big soccer fan, and so like the U.S. has to pick like when they face Mexico, they have to pick like Columbus, Ohio, or something like that. Just so it's not more Mexican fans than United States fans in the crowd. That's actually like Columbus is like their main choice, which is kind of funny because you don't think of that as like it's a sports town, but it's not like the first one I think of in the United States. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, Brandon Moreno, I think it was maybe a year or so ago, like after he won the title, like blew up in like mainstream media for there's like a 30-second video kind of going like with like his speech talking about how he's going to be the champion, and like they're showing like how he
Oh
he
yeah,
lost. And he
oh
like
yeah.
my friends were going up to me that are like don't ever really watch it and like, hey, you know this Brandon Moreno guy? I'm like, yeah, this guy's awesome. Yeah, this is a guy to get behind.
That's funny. I showed that video to one of my kids. Like I have 3 kids. My middle child, I was showing her that video and talking about like, you can achieve anything, doing those dad speeches to her,
Mm-hmm.
and showed the video where exactly what you're saying. Like he was saying, I'm going to be champion, and everyone kind of like, okay, dude, he is. And that Mexican style where he can turn it up, like I said, I thought Kyra France was doing great. Even like the leg kicks going off the calf, trying to zap the power of Brandon Moreno, zap the movement of Brandon Moreno. Obviously, at flyweights they move faster than anybody, but Moreno's pressure, the brawling style, drawing out a fight, and then just landing that shot was perfect. I would book Brandon Moreno in those districts forever. Like he wouldn't be fighting other than it's in Arizona, Texas, Southern California, or Mexico. Like that,
Yeah, like
that's
Timberland's
it.
England. Yeah. Start
Yeah.
making him in at least close to Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've ever watched the show, I like the drama. I'm not gonna lie. I like the drama. That I understand that most of it's fake. I get that. But I like the somewhat believable drama. And I thought we were going to have that moment. And then I said, wow, this is even better.
Mm-hmm.
When they brought Figueiredo in the cage and they expected kind of have Figueiredo try to steal Moreno's and them kind of face off with each other, melting off a little bit, have to be separated. Like they wanted this. And then Brandon Moreno in that moment to be like, listen, my kids are over here. My wife's over here. I want to be an example to them of a good sportsman, to not talk trash, not act like this. And to have a guy, and you saw Figueiredo, he was coming in the cage. He wanted that. He wanted to play the bad guy. And when you have a guy apologizing, I apologize if I've talked trash. I respect you as a human and as a fighter. I was like, this is not what the UFC expected, but because it's so different, I think it was perfect. I think it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think Moreno like might be the nicest person in the entire UFC. And so when someone's that nice to you, like Figueiredo comes in there like looking angry, got the shades on, and then you hear the speech from Moreno, you're like, how can I get mad at this guy?
Yeah,
like he's just being like the classiest person.
I'll throw this out the chat. Do you agree with me that was a good moment for the UFC, or do you think it would have been better? And obviously, you can answer this, and I'll throw it to the chat too. Would have been better if they started, even if Figueiredo just played bad guy, because he has to be. Of the two of them, he has to play the bad guy. I mean, he's the guy who wears the shades indoors. I mean, like that instantly makes you the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then have Moreno being the good, ultimate good versus bad. Would have been better, or was it better what happened, where it's just a respect between two high-level athletes?
I like what Moreno did because it's clearly authentic. Yeah. It would have been like if Moreno was trying to be like mean, like if it was like a nice spirit, like a GSP, like a GSP, like nice spirited meanness that he sometimes used to do. Was it Matt Hughes? I'm not impressed with your performance. That would have been. That's like a Moreno type of thing, I think. But if it was like actually, because that feels authentic. But when you have like people don't like the, I think people sometimes don't love Covington so much because they don't think it's like the real Covington.
Yeah, it's fake.
It's it's a whole persona.
But he's admitted it on what's the girl's the what's her name? Candace Owens show.
Oh, okay.
He admitted that it's an act.
Yeah, it seemed
and
like
he's been caught a couple of times dropping his guard.
Yeah. So I think casuals will like it less. I agree. But the hardcore
Baz wasn't liking it.
Don't care.
Baz wasn't liking it.
I can't. Baz is the furthest thing from a casual, so I can't lump him in there.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone else is kind of liking it. Moreno, he's like the Mexican Mr. Rogers of the UFC. Like he's like such a nice guy. Like you can't even. I mean, the guy plays with Legos and shit, and I mean, even his voice is like nice. He's not intimidating, you know.
Yeah.
The time they've had to try to talk junk, it just doesn't come off authentic. The other thing I was thinking of when I was watching them face off or whatever that was, I kept thinking, God, I feel bad for Alexander Pantoja.
Yeah.
Because the guy's
I've
got
been
to
feeling
wait.
bad for him for a while.
Yeah, I already like you could make an argument that he should have got to fight over Cara France. You know, you could have made the argument that maybe he should have got a fight before the last Figueiredo Moreno fight. Now he's gonna wait even longer.
Yeah, and we'll get
It's
to it.
gonna be the fourth fight.
But he deserves. I almost don't want him to have another fight until he gets one. But you obviously you want him to stay busy because Pantoja is so much fun to watch, anyways. But he totally deserves it.
Yeah,
I think go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think the trilogy to quadrilogy or whatever the right term is for that at the top is pretty clearly now making a kind of a logjam at the top of the division.
If you were running the UFC, would that be the fight you would do? Because I know you're saying that's what you're expecting to happen. But if you were the Ultimate Emperor, is that what you're doing?
Well, I would have had Pantoja. I would have had Pantoja before Kai, I think.
Okay, but you became the Ultimate Emperor right now. Right now, they just became the Ultimate Emperor.
Are you saying that I'd have Pantoja fight Figueiredo or Moreno?
No, I'm saying right now, like right now, you get hired, you're the president of the UFC. What do you do right now?
I think it's got to be. I mean,
and nobody can say no. Nobody can say no. And
I think
nobody can say no.
Moreno Figueiredo still has to happen because it's 1-1-1. I think that has to happen, and then I think Pantoja's next in line. I don't know what the timetable is for that. If it's too long, though, that's the only thing.
Yeah, I don't know how long. Yeah, there's a couple questions that Figueiredo's going to answer. Like, how long can he get in there besides being healed, actually having a camp? And he's a guy, and this is something that high or low just kind of. We always have to worry about Figgy making weight. I mean, we saw him miss weight against Joseph Benavidez. Obviously, he's getting older, not training, and I'm sure he can run, and I think he's got like hand injuries or something like that. It's going to be tough for him. But like you can't have the interim champion fighting somebody else and the champion defending against. The only time I remember this happening, remember when I think it was Randy Couture was a champion and he talked about leaving. He was a heavyweight champion. He talked about leaving. So they made an interim title with Frank Mir and Antonio Hajiro Nogueira. But then they got back to Randy Couture. So they booked him versus Brock Lesnar. But then they actually squeezed that in before. So Randy was defending the title, but there was also an interim title going on. And it was just a mess.
Yeah. It's a mess just describing it.
Yeah, like I can't even describe it. And everyone in the chat, they're all hardcore. They all know what I'm talking about. It's still hard to describe.
Yeah.
Cara France. I mean, first title shot. What do you do with him?
Let me see. I had a note about it.
I'll give you mine. I'll give you mine while you look.
Yeah. Okay.
Manel Kape.
Dude, we have the same names. I'm not even saying it. Like I can show you the note. I said next fight, Manel Kape. The other guy.
There's no rule. We can have the same name.
Yeah, but I don't want to be like, oh, he's copying. Guys in chat are like, oh, he's just copying Keith. Yeah, no, it was either Manel Kape or I was gonna say Mateus Nikolai. One of my two people.
I'm glad you said that because we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah. Anyways, so that's the co-main event. Really fun fight while it lasted. Again, obviously, it's always fun to get a stoppage, but I would have liked to go on a little bit further. Speaking of liking a fight to go a little further, I would have liked this fight to go a little further as we had Texas owned Derrick Lewis taking on Sergey Pavlovich. Sergey Pavlovich won by first round TKO. How'd you feel about the stoppage?
Super early. Definitely early. Lewis popped right back up. Like I'm always a proponent. Like I'd rather have, like from like a fighter health perspective, I'd definitely rather have an early than a late one.
Of course.
But that one really, like there was another stoppage earlier on the card that I thought was a little early, but this one felt pretty egregious with how early it was.
Yeah, it's always tough because when you have an early stoppage, no one wins because the fighter who gets stopped early, they get screwed because they just put it in a 8-12 week camp, something like that. Sergey Pavlovich got screwed because you always have he probably should have had his biggest win, but he got stopped and
There's an
what he
asterisk,
won.
yeah.
And then it shouldn't, like, refereeing shouldn't be like this. You shouldn't take into consideration who's fighting because that's how guys get hurt.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, you probably should. Like, this is what Derrick Lewis does. Like, not necessarily get hurt, but he's known for come from behind, losing fights. All I need to graze him with a shot, and I knock you out. Like, that's what Derrick Lewis does.
Yeah, yeah. The most famous fight of his is that, right? Against Volkov.
Volkov, yeah.
In my eyes, it is, yeah.
Oh, he was losing to Travis Brown. He was losing to Latifi. Like, Latifi was beating him. He had to come back in that fight. I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting. Abdurrahimov was beating him.
Yeah.
I think it was an early stoppage. It's so tough because I'm with you. I hate saying, like, hey, let that fight go on, because then what if something does happen? Yeah. What if he gets up and he gets rocked and you have a 265-pound guy dropping bombs on his head? Like, I get the part, but damn, dude.
Yeah, and Jordan Shepard made a good point that it looked like an even earlier stoppage on replay, because like a lot of those shots actually, like in the moment, I wasn't sure if they hit or not.
Sure.
But on the replay, it really confirmed that a lot of the shots as he was coming down weren't hitting.
Yeah, that's always tough because there's kind of like two sides to that. Like, one, the referee has the closest advantage.
Yeah.
He's the one who can see. He can one who can look in the eyes better than anybody, other than the actual guy punching him. Like, he's closer than the cameraman.
Yeah.
That's the argument. But then on the flip side, they don't have – it's not like football. We can go, replay says it wasn't a touchdown. Replay. Like, we don't have that luxury. So, it just – I think it's – to Jordan's point, I think it just gives us more ammo to complain.
Yeah, definitely.
It's funny. I'm so glad that Technical brought this up. He talked about Pavlovich loves being the villain. I was waiting for the Drago line. If he dies, he dies. Yeah. It's funny that you said that, because that's exactly when I thought of when Pavlovich was coming out and they were booing him. I go, this feels like Rocky IV when Drago's coming out, and then like Apollo Creed's going to come out next to the I Live in America, and I apologize to all the youngins who don't get that reference. Let me ask you this. Take away the stoppage. Sergey Pavlovich has now won 4 fights in a row in the UFC. He's got 4 knockouts. Was it good for the UFC for Pavlovich to win? Not the way, not how it won. So ignore how it won. Just him winning.
So I think there's 2 things. It's nice that there's a new face in the top 10 for Pavlovich, the new face, and he keeps getting knockouts, which is really fun. But I think he's significantly less marketable than Derrick Lewis is. Derrick Lewis is probably one of everyone's favorite heavyweights. Yeah. So I think it's good for the division. For the UFC specifically, it's like a 2-sided coin. I think it's net negative for them, just slightly.
So, okay. I'm going to say it's a good thing, and I'll say why. Okay. One, everything you said about new face, that's always good for the division. He's very athletic. He's also one of these guys, he's now in the top 10. It seems genuine. When Marcin Tybura was reaching the top 10, he didn't feel like he could win the title one day. Even like Chris Dawkins was like, does anybody really believe in Chris Dawkins? Like, I think people can believe Sergey Pavlovich. If Sergey Pavlovich is holding the UFC title 18 months from now, like, is anybody shocked by that?
I'm surprised, but not shocked. Yeah.
No, but like if Chris Dawkins is holding the title, I'm saying this is before Dawkins got out. When he was still on the rise, he was winning streak. Like, we've been like, yeah, that surprised me. Like, kind of like when Dawkins and Aspinall both were kind of rising at the same time. Like, they had to kind of be compared, but most people like, I can see Aspinall as a champion. I can't see Dawkins. Like, to me, Pavlovich is much more in that Aspinall camp than he is in the Dawkins camp.
Yeah. He's on the scale from Aspinall to Dawkins, he skews towards Aspinall. Yeah.
And my argument for Derrick Lewis is, I feel like Derrick Lewis has that Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz, Conor McGregor type feel where he doesn't need to win to be popular. Like, he's always going to be popular based on. We're gonna
I don't
start
know.
getting trolled by the.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Ben knows how to block these guys. Oh, okay. I think I can do it like this. I think I did it. Yeah. Davis Altwalt said Keith turn against Dawkins. Listen, he's not a police officer anymore. If he goes back to police force, I want to make him sound like friggin' the second coming of Habib, but he's not a police officer anymore, so I can turn against him. But dude, if Ashley Cummings comes in the UFC, you guys are all in trouble. She's taking over. Yeah. So to me, like Derrick Lewis is always going to be remarkable. He's going to say something funny. Like even like this week, he was saying funny shit, talking Spanish, playing up to the Mexican crowd, just telling John Morgan he's losing weight, and just being funny. And so I think Derrick Lewis matches against anybody. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses. He has his people.
Yeah.
Donald Cerrone has his people.
Sure.
So that's why I feel like you kind of got both tonight. You got a contender and you still have Derrick Lewis.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Derrick Lewis, back-to-back TKO losses.
And now 7 for his career.
Are you worried about his chin?
Yeah, I think now I am. Tuivasa, we know Tuivasa hits hard. We know Pavlovich hits hard. A lot of guys in the heavyweight hit hard. Tuivasa the first time, it's like, okay, maybe he just caught him right. But now it's Pavlovich again. And before, like, the big argument, right, it was like he only gets knocked out by, like, the absolute, like, guys that knock everyone out. Like, and God, like, I think I'm worried about it. Now 7 of his 9 losses, I think, are KOs now. And now 2 straight. So definitely worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of a little bit of his of a thing was the durability. Pavlovich looks dangerous. He's a good athlete. He moves well. He's big. He's not one of these like quick guys who's smaller. He's a bigger guy. He's got power. I'm still a little worried about his defensive wrestling. The one time we saw him lose was, Al Sarvin put him on his back and did what Al Sarvin, me and Ben talk all the time, what Al Sarvin does a lot, out wrestle people.
Yeah.
So I'm still, I have a little bit of caution on him, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about him. Props to Joe Rogan for standing right next to Sergey Pavlovich and being like, yeah, that was an early stoppage.
Yeah.
And he said like 2 or 3 times.
I was watching other friend who like didn't really watch ever, and he's like, Joe just like, you can just say that? I'm like, yeah, no, Joe says what he wants.
Yeah, like, he's the only guy. He's the only guy who can do that. Because Joe Rogan.
No one else.
He's bigger than the sport. He's one of the most popular celebrities in the world.
Yeah.
What do we do with Pavlovich then? So obviously he's in the contention. He's if we do the old who gets the first call, the division's a mess right now. The champion who know how long they're out. So there's a bunch of guys jockeying for position, but the champion's not there. John Jones moving up. Who knows when he's actually going to fight? And he's obviously would be the most popular guy. Stipe, who knows? So like, there's so many unknowns at heavyweight. So what would you do with Sergey Pavlovich?
I have two possibilities. I think either Volkov or Curtis Blades were my 2. Since
we have the same name again. I went with Curtis Blades. Just because I feel like beating Derrick Lewis, you kind of passed Volkov at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, actually. I don't know which this version of Volkov would he beat that version of.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying he would beat Volkov, but I mean I just mean from like a ranking sense and everything. And Blades just won, and Blades, even though that should have been such a huge win for him, the way it ended, like he almost went down, like he lost stock for no reason of his own.
Yeah, just crappy luck.
Yeah, he gets a 15-second stoppage over a guy, and he like loses stock. And then another reason it would really answer the questions about his wrestling. Well, it could answer his questions if Curtis Blades wrestles.
Yeah, he is like the only guy right now in the top 10, maybe. I can't think of. Aspinall can wrestle as well, but like Blades is really one of the only guys that would test the wrestling.
Oh, absolutely.
If you wanted to fast track Pavlovich, you just keep him away from Curtis Blades. Well, there's other people that would be difficult, but Blades right now looks like the biggest stopper, if that's our biggest issue with Pavlovich. And then Technical Wealth said something that I thought was good, that if Pavlovich could be marketable if he like kind of leans into being the heel of the division. He seems like he really enjoys it, so that could be like a nice he could be like the heel for the division.
Yeah. Do we have a heel right now at heavyweight?
I don't think, not a unanimous one.
Probably John Jones if he actually fights.
Yeah.
He actually
There's like,
probably be.
also some people just love John Jones too.
No,
as
yeah.
well.
It's like LeBron. It's like LeBron. LeBron has his fanboys, and then he has tons of people hit him.
Yeah.
Like Tom Brady. I mean,
yeah, Tom Brady.
Don't ever see anything about Tom Brady around me because I'm the biggest Tom Brady fanboy in the world. But there's some people who doesn't like this fine human being. I don't get it. But anyways, Derrick Lewis. I got a matchup. I'd be surprised you say the same name.
Okay.
I'm giving him a name, but I'm also trying to get Derrick Lewis to win. But I'm trying to disguise it. I'm giving him Andre Arlovski. Arlovski's got 4 wins in a row.
Stops getting low level guys.
Arlovski's won 4 fights in a row. You make this argument about former champion. You show the old highlights of him knocking out Justin Eilers and shit and Paul Bunatello, and 4-fight winning streak, former champion. Then former champion versus former champion back on a huge streak, ready to get his title back after all these years. Which obviously everyone knows he's not getting his title back. Versus the biggest knockout artist in the history of the sport. Co-main event of a fight night, or maybe a main event of a fight night, or even like third on the top of a pay-per-view.
Yeah. I like that. I went with I was thinking the winner of Sakai versus Spivak, expecting Spivak to win and kind of testing him as a newcomer to the top 10. And then he hasn't fought Rosenstrike yet, right? I don't think he has.
No, he hasn't.
It's surprising to me, but I think that's a cool matchup as well.
Yeah. The guys are some guys are Bass seems like he'd give Arlovski a better chance. I wouldn't. But the other guy saying it would be a murder and all this. Yeah, that's the point. Like I'm trying to get Derrick Lewis a win.
Yeah.
That was the point. But I'm trying to pretend I'm not by giving him a former champion. All right. We can't spend too much time on this next fight because it was very quick. I had a pretty good night overall. I think I went 9-3. Ben had a really good night. Ben went 12-1. His only loss was the Derrick Lewis one. And it was an early stoppage, so he almost went perfect. This was my worst call tonight. I backed Alex Reyes. This is the second time I picked Alex Reyes to beat Brazilian, and the second time he got submitted in the very first round. Alex Pantoja came out like he was shot out of a cannon. He said he wanted to make a statement, and boy, did he. And in that statement lasted for about 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And so he looked fantastic.
There was so much to unpack. Sorry, go ahead.
No, he looked fantastic. I mean, what else to say? He came in throwing bombs at Alex Perez, got a scramble going, got the back, and net cranked him into oblivion.
Yeah. So it was like this. Yeah, he comes out just winging shots immediately, chin up even, and gets like a seatbelt position in wrestling, like a deep seatbelt position. Does a back trip, but he doesn't have his hands locked, so he gets away. And then as Perez is turning to get up, takes the back. Pantoja is so quick on the ground. Does awesome back take, and then backpacks him for a little bit, and then was able to. I mean, he was looking to get the neck crank from any position on the head. He started like there was one he tried to do it at the eye level. Trying to crush every face,
crushing his nose and stuff. It was Conor Rebush of Bloody Elbow was talking about people don't realize how painful that is. Like you still can feel like you're getting choked. It's hard to breathe. Your chin is getting crushed in. Especially when he's getting all his arch in his back and everything. Mm-hmm. A terrible position. And I think it was brilliant Pantoja to come right at him because I mean, Perez hasn't fought in a really long time. Pantoja stays in his face immediately, doesn't let him get started. The fight's over before it really gets started. Mm-hmm. And I think talked about how Perez made a terrible decision when the scramble pursues. There's like a whizzer kind of, he got tripped over and he turned away to try to almost do like a wrestling escape, like a stand-up they'd call wrestling. And you can't do that again, Penzo. What he had to do is just cut when he's on his, he fell his butt and he tried to stand up. He has to cut his hips back, face him and back out, facing him. You give Pantoja back for a second, he ends the fight. And that's why he's such a serious threat to the entire division. Because there's nobody in the division that he can't do that to.
It's true. It's true. I mean, he already has a win over. He had a win over the guys ahead of him.
He has 2 wins over Moreno. He's got. I mean, if you want to count the Ultimate Fighter, he has 2 wins over Moreno.
Yeah.
He had a win over Cara France on the Ultimate Fighter too.
Yeah.
I mean, again, much different fighters than they were then. That was a very long time ago. But you could argue he was pretty much a like ground specialist back then. He's a much better fighter than he is now. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. All right. So Perez really struggled with the pressure. Bass asked, are you worried about Perez 2 quick early subs? Yeah. I mean, how can you not?
Yeah. I think the blueprint is kind of out if you can do it. Where I think Perez has shown that you can beat him to positions on the ground. I think it's what Figueiredo did, and I think it's what Pantoja just did. And while he's a good wrestler, doesn't have that grappling that some of the top guys in the division have.
Let me ask you this. Say Pantoja is fighting on a card that Moreno's on. Moreno's fighting Figueiredo. Pantoja is weighing in. He knows he's training for the camp. He was weighing in. He's not fighting anybody else. He's just weighing in. Figueiredo misses weight. Very possibility. Pantoja gets thrown in. Who's the betting favorite? He's got 2 wins over him.
He does. I think it's super close. I think it's Moreno, but I think it's like minus 130 Moreno. I think people that don't know the history of Moreno, maybe it opens I think it opens a pick'em, and then maybe like some people that don't know the history of Moreno steam the line up a little bit, and then sharp money comes back. But I think there's more money that goes in on Moreno, and so I think it's like a slight favorite for Moreno.
Yeah, I think so too. He's obviously the bigger name. The money would come on him being the bigger name, the casuals. But I'm with you. I think it's very close to pick. That's my point. Like that's how good. Yeah. That's the only point I want to make. Is we're talking about there was like a triangle going on with Cara France, Moreno, and Figueiredo today, and in that triangle, they might not even be the best flyweight.
Yeah,
that might not have been the best flyweight in the building tonight.
Yeah.
and I'm not, this is not me picking them to win. This is, I always like people best to be who you take in. I don't like to do future picks without doing tape study. Like Figueiredo beat, Pantoja beat anybody right now, including Figueiredo, who beat him. Figueiredo has win over him.
Yeah.
So, it wouldn't surprise me. Like he's that good. Let's matchmake for a second.
Yep.
To me, I have 2 options, and I'm okay with for Pantoja.
Okay, got it.
I have 2 options for him because I feel the same way about him. Well, I'll say this: if he wants to sit on the sidelines for a year, I'm okay with it. Like he to me, he's in that Leon Edwards category where he deserves it. He's done everything he's needed to. It's a little bit of wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if he wants to sit out, let Moreno and Figueiredo fight each other. Who knows when that happens? And then fight the winner. Knowing this poor guy's luck, they'll probably have another draw. But he wants to say Moreno wins, and he wins the what do you call 4 fight? He wins it 2-1-1. Okay, fights Moreno or fights Figueiredo, whoever he fights.
Yeah.
I'm okay with sitting out. If he wants to fight another fight, I was looking at the division, and it's hard to find a guy for him because he's fought everybody.
Yep. Yeah.
He's fought in Cara France. He's fought in Royval. He's fought who else? Askarov. He's fought all of them. So I give Matthias Nikolai.
Yeah, that works. The other name that I just really thought title shot But if I have to pick someone else, no, I can't do that to him. I'm off on the fly. I was gonna say maybe Cody Garbrandt just because of the name, but that's me into Cody. I
Yeah,
think.
that's me. You know
uh,
what? You know what? I think he knocks him out.
it's
I don't
a
think he even subs him. I think he knocks him out. Or he could like club and sub him.
yeah, I think so. But there'd be like a select group of people who are like, oh, Cody's got the power, puncher's chance. But and like people know Cody. It'd be a fun fight, I think, for how long it lasts. But I don't think that's more of a kind of a fun pick than a more realistic one, I think.
Jordan Shepard's asking, was Perez really that good at all? I think he's good. I think he's right into two buzzsaws. But if we were matchmaking, you have someone lined up for him.
So
I'm
actually,
going way down. I'm going way down in the rankings.
You're going way down because my pick was Mateus Nikolai for him.
Okay. Oh no, to me, I'm looking at a guy who just got sub 2 in a row. That's too high. And honestly, I think this guy might be too high. I might have to go lower than this, but I went with the official flyweight of the Shillan and Duffy show. Of course, the ultimate cheater in the sport, Tim Elliott.
That's good. He's
also, like my go-to flyweight.
That is, yeah. I feel like he's always
like we have a couple go-to guys. Cheetah Tim Elliott is one I think of a lot. Yeah, like my go-to middleweight is Brad Tavares. Like that's one of the guys I bring up a lot.
Yeah. Maybe
let's what'd you say?
I thought off the top of my head, maybe Jeff Molina.
Ooh, that'd be a real good test for Molina. Like Molina actually, you know what? Molina kind of deserves that.
Yeah, like Jalga Shmagalov, Daniel Lacerda. I mean, he needs to step up.
Molina does kind of deserve a step up. I don't mind that one at all. You know what? It's flyweight. You can't make a bad fight.
They're all great. It's awesome.
And to close out the main card, Anthony Smith took on Mega Man Nikolai. Nikolai was one of the biggest favorites on the card. He wins by second round TKO. Let's put a pin on Smith's injury. We'll kind of wrap it up. Let's just talk about Nikolai for a second. To me, obviously, well, I guess you have to pull the pin a little bit because you have to talk a little bit about Smith's injury. But Ankalaev, he's a very technically sound guy. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He was throwing a lot of good kicks, checking a lot of good kicks. The one thing where he's beating better guys, like his resume is going this way, but my belief in him is going this way. It's really weird. It is. I'm not worried that he can be outskilled. I'm worried that he can be, one, outworked, and two, he'll give away rounds in rounds he should win just from a lack of output. That first round was close. And instantly you could see anytime they really both let it go in exchange, he was quicker than Smith. He was more technical than Smith. He was landing the better shots. He was more powerful. Every box you want to check, he was better than Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
And on top of that, still super close.
Yeah, and on top of that, he didn't even use his wrestling, which I think is quite good. And something that I think that's also a big weakness of specifically Anthony Smith's defensive wrestling, like Glover Teixeira. I really thought Ankalaev would either have a decision like this one. Well, it wasn't a decision, but if it was going the way it was going to go, it seemed like kind of a at range where Ankalaev kind of narrowly wins each round, but is decisive in his favor. Or like a Glover-esque beating if Ankalaev was to kind of control him on the ground and use hard ground and pound.
Yeah, I was surprised. He had two opportunities to jump down on Smith. One when he was on the ground, especially at the end of the first round, like he was still kind of close, and he was standing over him, just kind of kicking his legs. I'm like, wow, dude, I don't know if you won the round, you probably did, but to secure it, just jump on the top. You have to just hold him down.
Yeah.
And then the second,
it's not Craig. Like that's not his guard. Like, you know.
Yeah, and then when Smith shot for the takedown, didn't have it, and started pulling guard, kind of pulling him on top of him, and he was like super hesitant to get on top of him in the guard. And I was like, wow, is he like really that terrified to be in someone's guard after that?
Yeah.
And that will really limit his wrestling and his advantage he has over so many guys with a wrestling advantage if he's scared to go to the ground with some people, if he's scared to be submitted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's some things I'm a little worried about Ankalaev.
Yeah, I think, and like at first I was confused why Smith was even putting him in guard, and then I realized it was about the leg injury that happened. But I mean, yeah, That's tough. I feel bad for Anthony Smith. I feel real
That
bad.
said, he's so technically sound that if he fought the current champion right now, who's not a very, he's more explosive, more wild, I would take Ankalaev right now.
It's a
But
great
again,
match.
that's not an official pick. If they get booked, I'm going to do tape study. I could change my mind, but I would have a hard time picking against him because of how much more technically skilled he is.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good matchup for him. I think we'll talk about where what we want Nikolai to do next, but that is that's what I'm thinking for him.
I was talking to one of the listeners this week, and they talked about being that the light heavyweight pitcher is similar to heavyweight, kind of murky right now. We have a new champion in Prohaska. There's no guy who's like really ahead of the pack. There was a couple of guys jockeying, maybe a rematch with Glover Teixeira because that fight was so good. Maybe Blachowicz because he just got a win, but his win was an injury. He didn't look great. Well, does Ankalaev for Smith, if one of them get a stoppage? And then we kind of talking like, they probably need a really good performance to get a stoppage. Ankalaev does get a stoppage, but it's kind of like Andrew Smith was complaining about an ankle. Then it sounds like he might have broke his ankle or broke some kind of bone, shin, or something. I love his line when they said, "Oh yeah, I hurt his leg. He broke his leg." He's like, "Yeah, who do you think broke it?" Like I did. Like, don't take away the credit from me. Like that was a bad guy, which was good of him. And it's probably true. Like that probably is true. I don't think we give enough credit to those moments. But hindsight being 2020, when we find out what is going to be the injury, we'll find out soon. I don't know if he did enough. Do you think he did enough to get a title shot next? Like, did he? Like, and if he didn't move to the pack and say Prohaska's fighting in 2 months, he wants to move in that quickly. Who's the guy? Who you calling? You're in charge of UFC. Who you calling for Prohaska?
I think I call it's either, I think for me, either a rematch between Teixeira and Prohaska, because I think the first fight was so awesome. It's those three guys, right? You have Teixeira, Jan, and Ankalaev. I think I give Ankalaev Jan, and I do and then I do the rematch between Teixeira and Prohaska.
Okay,
that's my pick.
So I'm going a little different. I'm going to give Prohaska versus Jan Blachowicz. I'm going to do that matchup.
Okay.
And I was kind of using the same way. Like I'm going to go with Glover Teixeira. I'm going to have Glover Teixeira fight Ankalaev. The Davis Oswald mentions Jamal Hill versus Nikolai. That would be fun. Obviously, Jamal Hill's fighting Thiago Santos this week. I'm assuming Oswald's saying Hill wins. I'm assuming that's his prediction, and that's why he's saying, because that wouldn't make sense if he lost. But so maybe you could do the winner of that matchup. Oh no, he just fought Thiago Santos.
He fought Santos, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd have to be Hill. Yeah. It's just one of those. He didn't do enough for me, and I don't know if there's a lot of fans out there that is looking for it for a title shot. I don't think it would sell. Like I feel like that has to be the number 2 fight on a pay-per-view, or that occasional like free ones that they do, which they don't do often. Anthony Smith. Usually we match make. I'm not going to match make him. I mean, who knows how long he's out? And honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised. I said that before a major injury, that if he lost, I could see him retiring. He's got 50 fights. He's got a family. I think he's a really good analyst. Really, really good.
Yeah, he is.
I would love for him just to kind of move into that role. Just now that he's got possibly a broken leg. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely can come back. I think he's only 33, which is like 25 for light heavyweight, but he's an old 33.
Yeah, he's got a lot of miles.
I think, or now 36 and 17. A lot of miles on it. I did it for fun. I thought maybe like Nikita Krylov next for him or something like that, but
okay, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I just, who knows how long it's going to be. Like when he comes back,
the
division can look so different. Hello, Denga _Tenga. Thanks for joining the chat. Yeah. So let's move on. We get the prelims. We'll go through these a little bit quicker. This is another one that I did really terrible pick on. This is one that me and Ben picked opposite. You picked Alex Moreno?
No, I was Semmelsberger. We were mostly. I did poorly, is what I'm saying. We were mostly the same. I had Pantoja. I went 11-2. I had Pantoja and Lewis were my two. And my Lewis was my loser, and this one. Those are my two
That's not
losers.
that's pretty good night. 11-2, not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, it's in the YouTube comments section, so you guys can. It
Oh,
was
I believe you.
legit. I didn't make it up.
Yeah, I was
Much more for chat.
Yeah, that's the one thing I can never lie because all my shit is out there.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I was holding myself accountable, level the playing field.
Alex Moreno looked fantastic for 2 rounds. Give him a pass on the 3rd round. Just to me, this just looked like a very veteran move. And Alex Moreno has really changed the way he fought. He used to be a brawler, and if he brawled out with Semmelsberger, he would have got starched. Yeah. Now he honestly has like a little Dominic Cruz thing going on where he's moving in and out, and then he's sliding off the center line, throwing like looping punches where he's darting to the right, throwing a left hook, and he was landing. He was getting out. Semmelsberger was making the mistake of loading up, he was trying to land the perfect punch. Probably has to do with knocking out Sana, knocking out Witt. You kind of fall in love with that perfect punch instead of just realizing when you're looking to land the perfect punch, you actually limit your chance of getting a knockout. You get the knockout and just letting your hands flow. I thought the one to me there was a moment, I think it was the 2nd round, where Semmelsberger throws this big loop and left hook, and all you see is Moreno to sidestep it, and then he just double jabs. He throws 2 jabs, bam, bam.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that just summed up the entire fight. That one exchange with Semmelsberger swinging at air as hard as he can, and Moreno just touching him.
Moreno, he looked super composed. It looked like really natural for him. It looked easy, almost like it was like business as usual for him.
This is one of the best performances of Moreno's career.
Yeah, it might be. Like maybe not name value wise, but like performance wise, is one of the most I've been impressed with him by, for sure.
He looked quick. Like I didn't expect him. I could see him outsmarting him. I could see him outputting him. I didn't expect him to be quicker and more explosive and beating him to the point of contact. Like just really, really like Moreno opened my eyes a little bit to him. Like I'm not thinking he's a championship caliber fighter or anything, but it was like I've been sleeping on this guy a little bit. Like he's made improvements.
4-fight win streak now. His footwork in particular looked really good, and Semmelsberger was just chasing. He wasn't cutting him off at any point. He was just chasing him.
I was
looked a little slow.
What'd you say?
I don't know if it was Moreno being really fast, but I also felt like Semmelsberger looked real slow.
I think he was loading up. I think that would happen. Yeah. So he was just, by the time he's letting his hands go, he wasn't coming close. He was swinging. He was swinging in air from so many of his, especially in the first, 2nd round. He landed that like flying switch knee, which was he had a nice moment in the 3rd. Moreno's so freaking durable and tough. He couldn't finish him. The biggest surprise, besides the performance, Moreno, the worst scorecard of the entire night was when they went. One of the judges went 30-27 Moreno on this. I don't know how you score. I mean, he almost got knocked out in the 3rd round, and then got up, landed a couple jabs and stuff. Really kind of just stalled out the clock.
That was a bad scorecard. Do you think after the 2nd round, when it looked like Semmelsberger's eye was, I don't know how he could see out of it. It looked like he had I'm not a doctor or anything, but it looked like the fractured orbital.
That's exactly what I thought it was, fractured orbital.
Were you surprised that they let it go to the 3rd round? And
I think that's so. I think it's one of those ones where if you have 10 doctors, 5 of them are stopping the fight, 5 of them are letting you fight. I think he had a Texas draw blood kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the location helped him.
But it might not have helped them. But
damn it, helped them to stay in. But
and you know what that was? That was just Moreno just wrapping punches around his guard. He was doing a high guard defense, kind of shelling up, and he was just wrapping him around, sidestepping, wrapping him around, and that's why he just busted up his eye.
And it started early, and then as soon as Moreno noticed it, he targeted it, and it was very clear that he was targeting that eye every single time. Do you think? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So after the flying knee, Semmelsberger, Moreno is sitting underneath Semmelsberger, and they come back up and they're going to the clinch. And I can hear the commentary team saying, it looks like Moreno's still hurt.
I think he was.
Do you think?
I think he's such a veteran that he can still work under those situations, but he looked like he was a little hurt.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest. Semmelsberger had a real shot, I think.
I just think he unloaded the gas tank, and I think that flying knee was it. Like, if I land this, maybe I knock him out, but landing that flying knee and then throwing everything he had to try to finish and not be able to finish. His corner was telling him to break free, and I think he was trying to get his breasts up to kind of have a flurry, and he just
yeah, they were screaming at him to break free.
Yeah, and I get it. I just think he was in that, like, he couldn't break free. The lactic acid in his arm was probably going crazy. His breath. I mean, he threw everything he had right before that.
Yeah.
One of those ones, like, yeah, he had the opportunity, he just didn't have the physical ability anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Speaking of guys slowing down pretty fast, Drew Dober beat Rafael by third round TKO with a liver shot. I love this fight. I loved everything about this fight. I'll say this about Alves. Alves is a dangerous guy. He's very explosive for a very short level, like, moment of time. He reminds me of, like, you play one of, like, those, like, fighting games, Mortal Kombat, and you have like a go-to that, like, you have like the energy bar, and if you keep throwing, like, the power one, it'll zap you down real quick. I feel like that's him.
Yeah, that's actually me playing UFC too.
Okay.
Like, I am spamming the spinning wheel kick in my career mode, and then my guy gets gassed after the first round.
Yeah, so that's and that's what he did. He did a capoeira kick right out the start. Drew Dober, I loved how he fought this fight. It was pressure, but it was a controlled pressure. He never overextended himself. Everything was short. A couple high kicks to the body, high kick to the body, kept going down the body, followed up with a right hook, staying him, never letting him get off the cage, but not overextending himself. Even when he got caught with a shot, he didn't, like, stop flailing. There was a moment, I had a 1-1 heading into the third period. I keep saying period. I've watched too much wrestling. Third round. Yeah. And Rafael shoots for a takedown, and he's got a single. He's ducked under. He's kind of like trying to run the pipe. Dober is kind of trying to dig in underhooks. He doesn't really have it, but he's bouncing on one foot. To me, the entire fight came down to that one moment. If Alves gets him to the ground, the fight, he's going to hold him down for a good enough portion. He was going to win the fight. But if he didn't, if Dober got his leg back, stopped the takedown, Dober was going to take over. And I just watched that and say, who's going to win? Who's going to dig deeper? And it was Dober. And once he didn't get him down in that moment, I said, the fight's over. Dober won. And it was still like 4.5 minutes left in the fight.
Yeah, it's funny. I think Dober's, like, kind of turning into this fighter that weathers the storm. Just his last two fights, weathers the storm and then comes back with more. Like at first he was always like a round one KO guy. He's a fast starter, and now in these last two fights, he's been facing fast starters both times, and he's had I think it really shows how much of a veteran he is in there, with how he's able to, like you were talking about, he has him back to the cage the entire fight, but isn't going crazy. He's picking his shots, and he's staying composed when Alves has his own moments.
Yeah, Dober's a guy, like, I really like his, like, short, compact striking game, but unless he can, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, but unless Dober can improve his takedown defense, he got taken down again in this fight. Until he improves that takedown defense, he'll always be a mid-card guy.
Yeah.
He'll be a really talented mid-card guy, but he'll never be a top-of-the-card guy because there's just too many good wrestlers in that division.
And wrestling's not something that you can just pick up. Everyone else, the good wrestlers, they've been doing it their whole lives, and you just can't, in a UFC career, make up for that experience.
Yeah, and I really wonder.
Admitted that he he's not too worried about being the best. He's much more worried about having entertaining fights. I think they said that on the broadcast team.
Yeah,
for that.
I think that kind of where he fits in because I think that's also, like, I'm interested in having entertaining fights. I think that's a little bit of code, like, don't give me a wrestler, like, let me bang it out with somebody too, because that's his best chance. That the body shot was a beautiful shot. It had it was different than the Car France, Moreno Car France, because Moreno hit Car France, he dropped right away. This was like a delayed one.
Yeah, I think they looked like it was the ribs on this one, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
a
I
little
think
higher,
the other one was a
higher
liver
up.
shot.
Yeah, a little higher, but it was like a delayed, like, oh, that hurt. Oh shit, I
Yeah.
gotta go down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it always reminded me like an old, was it Greg the Hammer Valentine? Like, get hit with a steel chair, and then he wouldn't fall down right away. He'd like walk a little bit, and then he'd fall down. Oh,
Like a cartoon.
yeah, Ric Flair would do kind of similar thing. Before that, another fight I really enjoyed, Dontel Mays versus Hamde Abdullah Wahab. Oh, I apologize if I said that now. The first Egyptian fighter in the UFC. He won a split decision. I like this guy. He's got power in his hands. He was an Olympic level wrestler. He was such a wild card. There wasn't like almost no film on this guy. For the pre-show, like it was like a highlight film. It was like a bare knuckle boxing MMA fight. It was like there wasn't much, but he's got power in his hands. He's got elite wrestling. He's big for the weight. He's short, but he's big. He's a bigger guy. I liked his IQ where he was 1-1. He started turning into wrestling, turning into mat returns. I like his ability to like handle adversity because he was hurt. He was physically hurt. I don't know if a knuckle in his eye. I don't know if he had a broken, but he was like blinking his eye out. He's having trouble with his eye. He was a huge guy like Dontel Mays, dropping bombs on him. He found a way to like weather that, turn into a wrestle heavy, win the fight. So I like a lot. But the one thing you have to worry about is cardio. But the one thing I'll say this about him, two things about his cardio. Mm-hmm. He did just fight 15 minutes. He did make it the whole 15 minutes in big wrestling exchanges, which will drain you out. And also, this guy took the fight on like days' notice.
And won the third round.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Well, in 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards. I think one of the judges gave Mace it. I think that was the worst one.
That was the one where it was like, yeah. Well, in fairness, that one, like Mays had like 20 or 30 seconds of offense at the very end.
Yeah, but, that's fair.
Yeah, I didn't like the stand up there, but it is what it is. Like, I'm not a Joe Rogan guy where I like no stand ups at all. If there's no action going on, I'm okay with standing up. Yeah,
I was gonna ask about that.
Because you get it. Like Joe Rogan talks about, like, oh, if you're not a wrestler, that's my argument on this. He says, well, you have high level wrestlers, and if you can't stop a wrestler getting off you, then you sucks to be you. Like learning a position. Well, in high level wrestling, there's tons of times, and this, where it's called for stalemates all the time because two high level wrestlers who get in a position where they both can pretty much just hold on to each other, and nothing's going to happen. So in high level wrestling, they always have stand ups,
and they get called for stalling.
And you get if you're stalling on top, you get hit for stalling. If you're just holding on, like doing a wrist ride without working. Yeah.
That's a stalling ruled MMA for wrestlers.
I actually do think it should be stalling. I mean,
I don't hate the I'm kind of joking, but I don't hate the idea. Like,
I feel good about this guy. Like, I thought it was a good debut. I mean, I Dontel Mays, but I don't think he's gonna be a champion or anything like that. But I think he's gonna win him. I think he's gonna have a nice little run in the UFC.
I think of like Mays as like the tutorial boss in a video game. If you can get through like Mays, you get through you don't have to fight Parisian, you don't have to fight Vendera. You can kind of go a little bit past that. And I think this is a pretty good. It's not the easiest. They could have given him an easier heavyweight to have on short notice. There are there, but especially with the wrestling, like it looked really easy in the third round, even with him tired. Like he took Mays down like it was
double on hooks, throw him. I mean, Dontel Mays wrestling always sucked. I mean, this guy wrestling the Olympics. I mean, this is
exactly.
What do you expect? I mean, this 16 guys who make the Olympics. He's one of the top 16 guys in the world.
And he's from the Middle East, which is like the SEC of wrestling in the world. Yeah.
Well, Russia too, but Russia. There's like 3 hotbeds of wrestling. It's Russia, it's the Middle East, and it's America.
Yeah,
and then you get some lower weight classes. You can kind of expand to some Asian territories in the lower weight classes.
Yeah, like India. India has some good like that.
And women's wrestling, you can get a little bit of the Asian market, but mostly the 3. The Russian. When I say Russia, I'm talking about the Russians area, the Middle East and America. Mm-hmm. Pretty fun fight between Drakkar Klose and Rafi Garcia, back and forth. To me, Drakkar Close was just the more intelligent fighter. Uh, he had a deeper gas tank. He was having trouble defending the leg kicks early, so he just started crashing the pocket,
Hmm.
crowding the kicker, pressuring him, and looked really good. He wrestled that time. He didn't need the takedown, just needed Rafi working. Um, there was a good example though of what Daniel Cormier was talking about between the double legs and the single legs.
Yeah.
And why the double legs worked for Garcia and the single legs didn't work. I mean, the doubles didn't work for Close. It's because of what they were doing. A double works great in the middle because you drive a guy back.
Yeah.
Against the cage. You're driving back into the cage. That's why a single works better because you turn the corner or you're kind of pulling out. So that's why a single.
Yeah.
I agree with Daniel Cormier. I agree with 90% of what he said. I don't agree with the doubles don't work. It works in the right spots.
It works in the right spots, and like in this instance, Garcia was timing it really well.
Yeah, he was doing reactionary
throw, and he just had to duck down essentially, then start driving through. And then Garcia was finishing it really well. Like continued to drive with his head to the side, and cut the corner. Like DC was talking about that a good bit. And I think that was the main difference between Jordan Shepard got me off my game with a pretty close fight pun. But yeah, I think that was the main difference. Where I think Close also when he was shooting he wasn't really setting them up very much. Arms were real wide. It was really easy for Garcia to get underhooks and dig those in against the cage. Mm-hmm. But Close, I think, won this fight just off sheer volume as well.
Yeah, the thing that it always looked bad because Garcia was backing up.
Yeah,
so that's always going to look bad. Like even if it was really close, and I know everyone's kept using the pun of close fight. Yeah, it just always it's never going to look good when you're the one backing up, and it's in any close fight. Like if you're the one backing up, you better be blowing the guy. They better be walking into every one of your shots because if it's going to be a close fight, you're going to lose. He called out Tony Ferguson.
I don't hate it, but I don't know if he deserves Tony Ferguson.
He's 6-2 in the UFC. I don't hate it, and I don't think his delivery was good. I think he had to put more passion in it. Like I felt like he was like he forgot who he was calling out. He's like, "Oh, Alpha Cooley guy. What's his name?" Like that wasn't that good. And like you're not a name. You win a close fight against Garcia. Like it's not like you knocked him out. Where Tony Ferguson is in his career right now, if you're being honest. Like kind of crossing an ability right now.
Yeah.
But Tony Ferguson still has that name value that you kind of want to use him for a different guy in the division to get over a guy that you actually might look as a future star in the division. Like if I'm using him against guys outside the top 15, I'm going with a guy who I think could be a star.
Yeah, and like if you're Tony Ferguson, what's the upside of fighting Close?
Nothing. Getting a win, a paycheck.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if he does win that fight too. That's
it. And it's only exactly if he wins, it's like okay, like most people don't know who this guy is. Yeah. And if he loses, it's like oh my goodness, Ferguson is washed.
Yeah, it's like the complete opposite of Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison is like all reward, not much risk. This is all risk, not much reward.
Yeah.
Before that, we had Michael Morales take on Adam Fugate. This is a fun fight. This is a much closer fight. I mean, he got the third round knockout, but this is a much tougher fight than I think most people expected. Fugate, I'll say this: he put him in a position to win. He's not as skilled as Morales. He's not as technically sound. He's not as explosive. He's not as fast. He's like every box you want to check. He just put himself in position to win. Yeah,
I agree. And Morales, like going back to the Giles fight, Morales isn't the best minute winner on the feet all the time. Like Giles was having success against him to start. And so Fugate through sheer he was always backing down Morales. Morales was landing probably the harder shots, the cleaner shots, but there were less of them. And Fugate just kept backing him down. Let's see what other notes did I have here. I thought, like for what Morales was a minus 600 favorite. I thought Fugate's like plus 450. Fugate did a really good showing of himself. He came on short notice, I think, right?
Yeah, he did.
And I think he could be a low level 170
I think he won the first round.
Guy.
I thought Fugit won the first round.
Yeah, I had
Fugit,
I had it 1-1 going to the third.
Fugit has this, even though he lost his fight, he has this overachiever feel to him, where
Yeah,
he's gonna win 1 or 2 fights in the UFC that like many people are not gonna expect him to win.
yeah, he's got a
Mm.
good gas tank too. Those types of fighters rely on that. You could definitely use that as a. It seems like that's
Yeah,
already like something that's woven into his game a bit.
yeah,
Trying to use it as a weapon.
he seems mentally strong. His fight to get into the UFC, he pulled up a huge upset, almost pulled it again on back-to-back fights. I'll say even though it wasn't like he's a negative 600 favorite or whatever it was, he was the biggest favorite on the card. Even though it wasn't what people expected from Morales, I think there's a lot of good things to take from it because one, even though Fugit was bringing it to him, took him down at one time,
Yeah,
you're trying to outpressure him. He stayed very relaxed regardless. Even when things were going bad, he stayed relaxed. That's why he was able to find the knockout. He wasn't like he wasn't doing Semmelsberger trying to land one big shot. He was just letting it flow and then it lands, which is what you do.
yeah,
2, he's only 23. He's at that
yeah,
age. He's going to make huge gaps. He's also not finding he's not in his power years, and he's got
yeah.
back-to-back walk-off like knockouts. So that's a really, really good sign. The one thing I'm a little worried about, they always talk about his wrestling, like, oh, he was a national champion from Ecuador. And I'm like, yeah. Ecuador doesn't fit in the 3 categories we just said.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what does that mean? One, I don't trust any national tournaments. In America, there's a shitload of national tournaments. There's not a true like high school. There's now the NCAA, that's different. But I mean like high school, and this was a high school American, high school national. Like, what does that mean? There's like 45 national tournaments. Like,
yeah.
I literally have seen JV wrestlers enter like I don't know, what's the one in the Virginia Beach Nationals and shit. Like the guy, you're a JV wrestler. You're not even varsity, but you're in the national tournament.
In high school, they even have JV states. That's a thing as well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So, like, I don't know, being a national champion in Ecuador wrestling is like, all right, being a good skier from Kenya or something. Like, what does that mean to me? Like, anyways, but that said, I like everything else about Morales. Like, I still feel good about him moving forward. He got obviously really good win in his debut, and it is. And we always give the guy in short notice a pass, rightfully so. I definitely think it's harder to come in on short notice than it is the guy who had a full camp. But he didn't have a full camp preparing for this guy.
Sure.
So get a little. I give him a little bit of a pass.
Yeah, I think it forced him to learn on the fly a little bit, and I think it makes he was making adjustments going into round 2 and 3. Super, like you said, for his age, like very composed, almost too composed though at times, or I guess it would be complacent would be the term, where he kind of backed out of some exchanges, hands down, head up, which against someone who's better than Fugit, he'll get punished for a little bit more than he did.
I think this win though. I think this win might age well. I think it might age better than we think right now.
Yeah, I think Fugit can definitely stick around the UFC for a good bit. He is 33, so he doesn't have much longer until he's definitely going to be. I mean, he's not going to be getting like leaps and bounds better, especially at 170.
No.
Where
I just think he's going to be an overachiever.
I agree.
Before that, Jocelyn Edwards took on Ji Young Kim. I'm going to say this right now. I feel really bad for Ji Young Kim. Not that she didn't win this fight. It was a split decision. I think that was more than generous. But what I feel bad for is she was training for somebody else. Jocelyn Edwards takes the fight on short notice. She agrees to fight her. She agrees to move up in weight for Jocelyn Edwards, go from flyweight to bantamweight, and then Jocelyn Edwards misses weight. So you're already going to be a smaller fighter, and then they miss weight.
Yeah.
That said, the action that happened, I mean, there was times where she was just out-muscled. You could see the size difference. The difference between their thighs were huge, the height and everything. But I felt like she fought exactly the fight Jocelyn Edwards wanted to do. She never was crashing the pocket. She was staying out the side, having a long-range kickboxing fighter with the long-range kickboxer who's bigger than you. I just didn't get the strategy from Kim.
She respected her, I think, too much as well. Where she, like you said, she was really scared to get in the pocket. And I think she respected Edwards' power, which you have to some extent. But Kim's game is needs to get into the pocket. She doesn't have the reach advantage in that fight, and she didn't throw like a ton. It looked like she kept thinking about throwing, and then just stopped.
Shorten her shots too. Like she's shortening her stops. She's like
trying to get out before.
Yeah. I think if Kim fought like Fugit did, she might have won this fight.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the shots that Kim did land, like when she really like put her like that, they were stinging Edwards. Like she wasn't responding great to him.
No,
it wasn't like knocking her off. Yeah.
Well, that's because Edwards throws a lot of naked leg kicks.
Yeah.
She throws a lot of kicks and she pulls her head back. She's going to get really blasted by somebody. The one thing I'll say this, I'm going to say this about another fight coming up soon. She missed weight, and this fight came down to who won the third round, and Edwards won the third round. You got to ask yourself this question. If she had to cut that extra weight, would she have been able to dig deep in the third round? Would she have won? Like, did we get one of these fights where not making weight was an advantage for you?
Yeah. This is like a Perez, what Perez was trying to do against Schnell. I feel like coming in 2 pounds heavy, so you could have that cardio at the end. I don't know if that's obviously conjecture, but like she seemed like she was pretty. I watched the weigh-in. She seemed pretty like sunken in, like in the face when she was weighing in. So I think she definitely made like a real concerted effort to make 35. And so I always wonder if like, does it matter if you're over 1.5? Well, okay. Will you still have that good gas tank even though you missed weight because you still like kind of gave it everything you could to?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not saying that she wasn't trying to make weight. Like I was trying to say that. Like I don't know. Like I wasn't there, but I just say like she had to. What she missed by like 1.5 pounds. Like if she had to suck another 1.5 pounds out, would she have won? I don't know. Before that, we had Nikolai, and I'm going to butcher these last names. I apologize ahead of time. Nikolai Negu Mariano taking on Igor Potera.
Poteria, I don't know.
Poteria, yeah.
Maybe.
Negu Mariano won by second round TKO. I'm going to say this right now about Negu Mariano. He's won 4 fights in a row, and I keep picking against him. I'm coming around on him.
Yeah.
Like I keep going with his debut. I can't get that terrible performance in his debut, but he's looked better and better each fight. He looks brilliant in this fight.
Yeah.
And I think he showed his IQ. And what I mean by that is he came out wrestling early, which tired out his opponent. And then he started to open up. Like he knew his opponent was tired. You could visibly see it. His mouth's wide open. His body language sticks terrible. And now everyone's like, no, now we're having the kickboxing. Now we're having the pocket brawling out fight. And then he gets the TKO. Just to me, a pillow to post performance. Really, really good performance by Negu Mariano.
Yeah, and he feinted level changes too, in the second round to start getting his striking going in the second.
Yeah, they pointed out in the broadcast that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, we talked about when you get takedowns, that probably does open up your hands, opens up the opportunities to land shots because they have to defend 2 things coming at them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was there's levels to this game type of moment with Negu Mariano, and he just seemed like a class above Poteria.
That's close enough. And before that, we had Blood Diamond taking on Ariane Kosi. Kosi winning a unanimous decision. I'm gonna ask the same thing. It came down. I had a 1-1. Kosi dug deep, got a couple really ugly takedowns. Like he threw like a headlock. He threw a lat throw. I think it was a lat throw in the third round.
Yeah.
Like lazy lats only. Lazy lats are better than headlocks. I'll say that, but lazy lats still don't work against good. I mean, yes, there are like Hayden Hatley throwing a lazy lat against someone, but like generally speaking, lazy lats don't work at high level. I'll say this: I thought both guys looked like shit. Both of them.
Yeah, wasn't impressed with either. I was honestly more impressed with Blood Diamond than I was with Kosi, kind of.
He showed some improvement on the ground.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like you don't have to be a good ground fighter, obviously, if you're really high level, but like you have to be this level. He's this level.
Yeah.
To get in the UFC, you have to at least be like the floor level of ground, and he's not.
Yeah, I agree.
And I got to ask the question: if he had to cut that extra weight that he didn't make, would he be able to dig deep? Would he got those throws? Would he got that takedown?
I don't know. Specifically for him, I'm not sure.
Yeah. But generally speaking, I'm not excited. Like Kosi, him and his brother were very fun coming off the Contender Series, really fun style. But yeah, I can't be. I'm not feeling that good about them. Like
Me neither.
maybe he needs to move up and wait because it's also like 2 fights in a row. He looked really gassed. 2 in a row. That's concerning.
Yeah.
So there you guys have it. We've covered all 13 fights. Let me see. Do we have the awards? I forgot to. Let's see if anybody messaged me. We do have. I have the awards, so this is what we'll do. You don't have the awards in front of you, right?
Nope.
So I'll let you do this. We have 2 performance of the night. We have 1 fight of the night. This is courtesy of Jay Petrie, so thank you, Jay. As he DM'd me the awards. Okay. So the way we do it, and you throw it out to the chat, you guys can tell us what you would have given awards to if you were the UFC president. And then I'll tell you what they were. All right. So tell me what you would go with.
Okay. So for me, I would go with Garcia close. I think that was the best. That was the most exciting
for the fight
one.
Of the night? Okay.
Also, maybe Dober Alves. I don't know. One of those 2. I think they
probably pick one. You gotta pick one.
Dober Alves.
All right, so Dober Alves your fight. All right.
I think they gave bonuses to. I'll say I think Pavlovich and Pantoja.
All right, so you got 1 right. I'm surprised by some of these awards. The fight of the night was actually, let me see. This is the one that, let me see. I wrote down what I would have gave. Nope, this wasn't my fight of the night. My fight of the night. I'm not surprised at all that this one fight of the night, but I would have went with Semmelsberger and Moreno.
Okay, sure.
Moreno. I would have went Moreno and Semmelsberger as my fight of the night. The fight of the night was Drew Dober. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. Fight of the night was I screwed this up. The fight of the night was Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara France.
Okay.
Technical Health would have given Amanda Nunes and Julianna Pena fight of the night. I almost thought that they might get it. But they did not. It was the co-main event. What were your 2 performances you said?
I said Pantoja and Pavlovich.
Okay, so Alejandro Pantoja did get an award. That's who I also would have gave it to. And the early stoppage really hurts Pavlovich, but you still go into enemy. You go into enemy territory against Derrick Lewis. It's not your fault the referee jumped in. I also would have given it to Pavlovich. They did not. They gave it to Drew Dober. I think it's because the way it stopped.
Sure.
The body shot, it always looks really good.
I don't hate that choice. No.
I'm surprised Nunes got nothing. Like I'm not saying I would have gave her it, but I'm just surprised. Usually the UFC favors the fighters on the top. Performance like that, I'm surprised Amanda Nunes didn't get anything.
Yeah, I would have guessed that UFC would have given them the fight of the night.
All right, let's do some of the awards. You want to do the cut list first?
Cut list, yes. I think I just have 2.
All right, you have 2. So the way the cut list works is, I was going to say, Ben, if me and Luke both have the same person on our cut list, we allow the UFC to cut them with our permission. Obviously, that opens up doors for other people like the fighters fighting on the Contender Series to come in. You have 2 people. Tell me your 2 people, then I'll tell you if I have them on my list.
I have Kim and Blood Diamond. Those are my 2.
Okay. I'm going to say this. Kim and Blood Diamond would be on my list. They were the 2 I would have cut. That's who Technical Wealth was cutting. He also threw in Dontel Mays. and he says Derrick Lewis gets banned from fighting. He texts ever again. Yeah, fair enough. I am not cutting Blood Diamond or Kim for one reason. I have a hard time holding against them when their opponents both miss weight.
That's fair. Yeah.
So that said, I don't have a single person on my cut list.
Other than those two, yeah, I don't see anyone else that makes too much sense.
Dontel Mays won his like previous fights. Rafael's won his previous fights. Rafael Garcia won his previous fights. So none of them were like. I usually look for people on losing streaks. So Blood Diamond, he's not UFC level. He's not.
Yeah.
And probably Kim isn't either. But Kim, she went out of her weight class. She fought. Then her opponent missed weight. So I'm not going to use it against them that their opponents missed weight. So they got a free pass. Let's do the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. If things are going good, it's a bull stock. If things are going bad, it's a bear stock. Or usually they talk about the markets. Actually, right now I don't know if we still are, but we were in a bear market, so things are going bad. You want to? Let's keep it negative. Let's do the Bears. I'll let you go first. We do it hockey style. You can pick up to 3 for the night.
Yeah. So my first bear is Derrick Lewis. Even though it was an early stoppage, this is now second straight knockout loss. This is
terrible.
Unfortunately, It looks like he's on a decline right now. And then the next one I have is City Kickboxing, both Blood Diamond and Kai Kara France.
It's not often they lose in a title fight either. It's not often their team loses in a title fight. Not recently.
Yeah, they were talking about that too in the broadcast. They could have their third title holder. And then officiating is my last bear. The early stoppages, the controversy with the like letting people up. There was a couple instances. So yeah, those are my three.
Yeah. So I actually had both of those on my list, but so I'll add some other ones. Anthony Smith. My number 3 is Anthony Smith. He loses, which in that division pushes him way down the line of a possible title shot. He's had so many fights, and then you add a broken leg. There's a very good chance he was one really impressive win away from possibly fighting for the title. Now he's possibly out for a year or who knows how long.
Yeah.
Not good for Anthony Smith. I mean, let's be honest, he's probably sitting in a hospital right now as we still speak. So that's not good.
Yeah.
My number 2, Alex Perez. Back-to-back first-round submission losses. He hasn't won a fight since June of 2020. So it's been over 2 years since he's won a fight. Out for a really long time. Had some weight cut and misses in there. Just injuries. Completely flopped in his one title shot. Just not really good if you're Alex Perez. And my number 1, and I hate doing this. I actually kind of feel bad, but I'm going to go with Julianna Pena. And the reason why, and this is not fair to her, but unless she does something different and gets a win, which she gets a trilogy and wins, I doubt it, but she's going to be known, like her title reign is always going to be known as a fluke, kind of like Matt Severs, kind of like a couple people we've had. So not good for Julianna Pena. Let's do the Bulls. These are the ones who had a good night. Again, we can do it hockey style, 3, 2, 1. I'll let you go again.
All right. So 3 I got. I start off with Pantoja. I think if you didn't already have him in the title shot, I think you kind of have to now. And then the other one I have is Pavlovich. Firmly cemented himself in the top 10 now for heavyweight, and is looking more and more like a true title challenger. And this was a big test for him to see where he was. And then the last one I have is Moreno. I think it's might be the best performance we've seen from Moreno so far. I'm recency biased, but
Brandon Moreno or Alex
Moreno? Sorry, Alex.
Okay,
Moreno.
I know. I just want to make sure I heard you. Okay,
Yeah.
Alex Moreno. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have. Yeah, Alex Moreno. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, can we not like UFC heads up? Can you not put those two guys on the same card again? Like Jesus Christ. Like Jesus Christ. All right. I had 2 of those on my list, so I will go with fighters missing weight. The 2 fighters both missed weight, both dug deep in the third on one. Jocelyn Edwards and Orion Kosi, so they both got victories despite missing weight. So good strategy to miss weight. My number 2. You take a lot of my good ones, so I'm trying to find. I'm going to go with Hamde, Abdullah, Wahab. I'll say this. It was his UFC debut. He beat a quality guy, and he took it on short notice. First guy in Egypt. I liked a lot of things. He's got a really fun name, Mr. Hamde. I say his stock went up. And my number one, anytime someone wins the title, the stock always rises. People literally was debating if she was the GOAT. Amanda Nunes is the double champ once again. People were questioning her. There's no question. She is the hands down greatest. Yes, a decline will come. She will lose. She will lose multiple fights in a row. That's probably going to, unless she retires very soon. But as of right now, women's MMA, she's still number one on top. So to me, Amanda Nunes. I'm going to give you one more bonus one.
For me to pick?
Before
you.
I'm going to give a bonus one.
Okay.
The number one, I'm going to give to my man, Luke Wilson. Filling in, coming in strong. Your stock rises, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to be on. I love it. I watch the show all the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, brother. Give me a grade for the card.
It's up there. I think A- is what I'd give it.
Wow.
Too high? Wow. Too low? What do you think?
Man, it's so it was good. I give it a B.
Okay.
We didn't have, and the reason why I only give it a B, we didn't have a spectacular knockout. I love body shots one, so don't like. Yeah. I mean, between me and Ben, like I'm the one. I love body shots. Like there's really fun, but we didn't have a spectacular knockout, and we didn't have like an all-time war.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think we will have some fun moments. That I'll remember. Like I really did enjoy the Brandon Moreno Figueiredo moment. Mm-hmm. Just because it was so different than I wasn't not what I was expecting. So that was really good. So I give it a solid B. Like it wasn't the greatest card we talked about like for a pay-per-view. Like we weren't super excited. It wasn't massive. But overall, I think it delivered. I think if you spent the money tonight, I think you're pretty happy. The early stoppages too of Lewis, that kind of stung Anthony Smith. Even though like the leg break, I do agree that it was due to it. I don't want to see that. I want to see like what would happen if both guys were more healthy. So
the good thing was that was the only like flop on the main card. And we finally had a main event that one of them didn't get injured in the first round. So that was nice. Maybe I'm just used to that. That's why I'm grading on a scale.
Yeah. All right, my man. This is the toughest one. Who's your listener of the evening?
I got to give it to Technical Wealth. He's been here.
He's always good. I'm assuming it's a he. Yeah,
I'm not sure. He, she, they has always been there. Entire time. Yeah, got to be Technical Wealth.
Yeah. We had a lot of people I haven't seen in the chat before, which is really, really cool. I know Bass mentioned that. Michael Bailey, I don't think I've seen him. I apologize if I have. But he was really active. Davis Oswalt was really active, so that was really cool. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to give a guy who jumped in early and stayed pretty much the whole night and was killing it. He kind of jabbed us a little bit. He was a lot of fun. I'm going to go with my man, Jordan Shepard. I think he had a really good showing. I'll say Jordan Shepard was the Hamde Abdullah Wahab of the show. Really good performance from him. So he is my listener. So that's it, guys. Once again, Luke, thank you so much. Guys, before I forget, I know a couple other people reached out to me about doing this, jumping on as a listener. Honestly, I don't remember where you people messaged me. So do it again. So even if you already messaged me and I already messaged you back saying, hey, we'll get you on the show. If you want to jump on the show and do this, if me or Ben, like Ben brought in a listener too, so we're both kind of open to it. And the reason why we both open it, this is how me and Ben both started. When TJ DeSantis and Jordan Brino and them had the radio show, I used to call in. Like people would actually remember me being Keith from Providence, Keith from Coventry. If you listen to the old Ode, you can find me talking on there. Ben, same thing. So it really means a lot to us to give people who are listeners a chance to jump on there. So if you are a listener, the best part of these recap show is the listeners. So if you want to jump on, you want to give it a shot, message me on Twitter, message me on Facebook, you can find me. And I'll get you on. So Luke, thank you once again. Me and Ben we're filming the preview show for the Ultimate Fighter season 30 finale, the Santos versus Hill card that'll be up this week. And we'll be back. I think me and Ben will both be back next week recapping. So I'm Keith. He is Luke. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me.